Good evening, everyone, and welcome to an information session about a topic that probably has presented itself with little voices in your head a while ago, and those voices would have said, you can do better, you should be in charge, there is a greater career path for you, and then you look around, you see other people doing great, and you go, well, I should be doing the same thing, and you will find that many people who are successful would have gotten the right tools to be successful. And one of the best tools you can pick is an executive MBA, hugely recognized worldwide in New Zealand, especially with the employers, and usually the trampoline jumpstart to get you going. We have a star-studded team here tonight. We have Mandy Welsh and Deetha and Rebecca, our colleagues at the front. We have Connie, who is doing the slides with a hand crank behind the scene. And we have Rob Woolner, one of our graduates, who will talk about his experience in the program. And it's good when people come back and have good things to say, because that should tell you that this is really a good thing overall. I want to just lead in with a couple of words in terms of why you would even consider doing this. And no one comes into a session like this because you had nothing else to do on a Tuesday evening and you just happen to dial up and you're going to sit here for an hour. You have a purpose. Somebody told you, you told yourself, or you realized by looking at others that you've got to do something. You need to get off your chair and do something to move along into a career with greater choices, where you are in charge to pick opportunities. And you can't do that by just saying, today I want it. You have to show some evidence that you can, in fact, perform at a higher level. And a large number of students that come into the Executive MBA are in management roles, have certainly some experience, but not necessarily in business. They come from career choices they made previously. And look, all of you remembered how you picked your undergraduate degree, right? Your parents told you there was a girlfriend involved. It was closest to the school, to the house. There were all sorts of things. And 10 years later, you go like, do I really want to be a CFO? And so there are choices that you make early, and then you repair those and build onto them. And the EMBA is a wonderful tool in order to get you to do different things that you can then choose, because you will have a formidable background now that will allow people to recognize you to make contributions in different areas than where you were before. On that happy note, I will turn you over to Deetha, who will talk to you about some of the content.
Thank you, Jens. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. You're all here today to see if the Executive MBA, or EMBA, like you would hear us refer to it, is the right option for you. And we hope to give you as much information to be able to make this decision, the best decision for you. The Executive MBA is flexible. Flexibility in the location that you choose to study from. So you've got two choices. You've got the Auckland Airport and you've got the Albany campus, again in Auckland, for you to be able to choose from. We're also flexible in the way that we've designed the program. So you study while you work, which means that you can use this information almost the next day at work and maybe bring in a few concerns or issues that you face at work back into your classroom the next time to be able to discuss this with your like-minded peers and your academics. We also understand that you have been in a working culture. So we try to create a similar culture of practical learning here as well, where we focus more on your understanding of various business concepts through case studies and data available and observed from organizations, both domestic and international. So you position yourself to be for leadership and governance. We also want you to be global leaders for tomorrow. And one way that we see this easily done is through networking with leaders of today. We bring in guest speakers from the market, from New Zealand, and globally as well, to share their insights with you. You develop knowledge to expand businesses in New Zealand and globally while connecting with leaders throughout the world. We've also worked very hard to make the MBA relevant, recent, and recognized, again, domestically and internationally. This is done through empowering you with knowledge and skills. We want you to be, as an MBA, EMBA student and graduate, to make informed decisions for tomorrow's success, to lead with confidence, capability, capacity, connections, and courage. Studying your EMBA with Massey would mean that you achieve a degree from a highly ranked and accredited program, business school, and university. The business school has been accredited by AACSB, which is an American organization that certifies the way we teach and the graduates we produce at the school. We've also had a 5-year accreditation by EMBA, which is the Associations of MBAs, that immediately puts you in the league of MBAs around the world. Your degree is recognized worldwide to be an MBA of consequence. So we are a highly ranked school, university, and program. We've got the QS ranks. We've also been ranked 9 in the world for the EMBA, and Shanghai ranking has ranked us number 1 in New Zealand. So we're very proud of our achievements. So, of course, our focus this evening is going to be the Executive MBA that has classes every 6th weekend. You've got 16 hours that you spend together in your class, learning from your academics, from your peers, for every course. And you take a period of about 15 months plus a few months for your project to complete the program. And we've got an exciting global tour that we plan for you to, again, learn from global leaders around. You get board experience and you get Governance New Zealand membership with the Executive MBA. The other program that we have on offer is the MBA Online, which is extremely flexible in terms of allowing you to study while you work. You just need to log in for 2 hours every week over a 7-week period for each course. And of course, because it's online, you can do it from anywhere. You just need internet and a laptop or a screen. And you can complete this program anywhere between 18 months to up to 5 years. And the third program that we have on offer is the MBA full-time, which is more intense. It doesn't allow you to work full-time, and you need to study this on the Albany campus. You will be here for about 12 hours per week, studying on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 3 to 7. It takes you just 1 year to complete this program. You also have specializations as part of this program. You get some New Zealand work experience, and you get an opportunity to really deep dive into the New Zealand market with some company visits and some discussions with the leaders of these organizations.
So when you look at the Executive MBA, you're wondering whether it's right for you. So if you're interested in strategy, governance, leadership skills with strong personal growth thrown in, then the EMBA, the Executive MBA, is the right one for you. Some of the features include networking with other leaders and guest speakers, career coaching, consultancy in New Zealand and internationally, and exposure to governance practices. People often come into the program thinking they want one thing and they end up leaving in a completely different direction. Let me give you an example. We had a theatre nurse who came to us and she wanted to change hospital processes. She went away on study tour and she ended up thinking that sustainability was her jam, and she went away and did a little bit more study after her EMBA. Now she's a New Zealand sustainability expert. So your eyes will be open to an enormous amount of possibilities. So if you have a degree, though there are pathways if you don't, and you have at least 7 years work experience, 7 years of those need to be in management, then this could be the program for you. Some of our students come owner-operators. They come from SMEs, they come from government departments, they come from large corporates, not-for-profits, and they come from all over New Zealand. Diversity really is the key to our program. 40% of the learning come from the people in the room, so we're looking for people who have great experience behind them to share with others. There are many ways to solve problems, and that's one of the benefits. On the next slide, I just briefly want to talk to you about that pathway that I talked about. So the postgraduate certificate in business with a specialisation in business administration, we call it the PG Cert Biz Admin because it's way too long to say it otherwise, are 4 EMBA courses. You can take 2 years to complete it. And if you have a B- average, we will transfer the EMBA courses that you've done into the Executive MBA and you continue with the cohort. So you don't graduate with the PG Cert unless you choose to finish with that. You graduate with an Executive MBA, and it is a fabulous way for you to start if you don't have a degree. These are the tools for your toolbox, and they'll make you valuable to any employer, and they'll also improve the outcomes of the business, either your business or the business that you work for. One of our alumni once said that when she first started her Executive MBA, it was like going into a room and one corner was brightly lit. That's what she knew. And by the time she'd finished, the room was brighter and she knew where all the light switches were. So you don't have to know it all. What you need to do is know where to find the information and, more importantly, who to network with to get some of that information. So these are the distinctive features of our Executive MBA. They include networking, career coaching, consultancy, both here in New Zealand and overseas. You'll get involved with governance, again, both here and internationally, and you'll be able to try a range of skills in a protected environment. You know, sometimes you can be a bit nervous about talking about finance, for example, if you're a bit numbers phobic. But in the class and in some of the work that you'll do, you'll be able to try some of those skills out while you're being supported by our staff and also people that are on the course with you. One of the really exciting things we do on this course is the study tour. The study tours broaden your horizons and they help you to look at scale, and they also help you to make connections and networks overseas. Then that's 9 days, 2 countries, and it includes an international consultancy, which is absolutely wonderful for your CV. So you can finish in 22 months, but you can take up to 30 months to do it. So that's 2.5 years if you want to. The average work experience is 21 years, and that ranges from the minimum of 7 up to 40 years. And the average management is 10 years, and it ranges from 3, which is again the minimum, up to 28 years. Our current students come all the way from Invercargill to Kaikohe and everywhere in between. So this is the first year we've had more than 50% women, and we're really excited because this diversity is just amazing. The return on investment, you can see at the bottom there that 72% of our students had improved roles during the EMBA. And lots of those, actually 35% of those, were in their same company. So companies actually value the contribution that people start making within the organisation and start promoting them. So it does reinforce that companies get value from the learning. One of the students the alumni that I spoke to today, actually, she wants to join Governance New Zealand, which is one of the benefits that you have by doing the Executive MBA. She was saying to me that she has doubled her salary. She was a physiotherapist and she wanted to just run the business better. Now she works for health, and she has governance roles within that large organisation. This is where you learn the language of business so that people can't bamboozle you with words. You'll be able to understand it much better, as well as the concepts of each of those topics. You do 1 course at a time. Generally, there are 3 assessments for each course. They're only 6 weeks long, so they're quite intensive. But you'll do an individual assignment, a group assignment, and then something else. It might be a presentation or it might be a test, but it is something that will impact on your learning positively impact on your learning. There are no exams, so you don't have to wait till the end of the semester and then come in for an exam. If you're going to have a test, it'll be in class, but there are very few of those now. You can see here that there are two streams. One is Auckland campus, which is in Albany, and the other is at the airport, and they're offset. So if you can't make one, you should be able to make the other. For those of you who live outside of Auckland, the airport course starts later, starts at 10 o'clock, so that you can fly in on a Saturday morning, and then you'll be finished by 4 o'clock on a Sunday, so you can fly home. The Albany classes are 8:30 to 4:30 on both days. The governance course, which is the first course of the second year, is your opportunity to work with or to observe on a board. Gives you great experience with that. The strategy course, which is the second course, is where you go overseas on the study tour and you hone that international consultancy skills. The people who teach you on here are we call practitioner academics. That means that they have practical corporate experience and they bring in guest speakers into the class, and they are the type of people that you will want to connect with. You also need to know that these practitioner academics know there are people in the room who know absolutely nothing about the topic. They will help you to get up to speed, and they will bring you from zero to hero during the course of the class. And they're there to help and support you. That their role is entirely to make sure that you are successful. Our EMBA is the only MBA in New Zealand that allows direct entry into as an affiliate member for Governance New Zealand. Here are 4 of our alumni who have gone on to do great things since they finished their EMBA. Niraj Lala is the CEO of Toyota New Zealand. Now, he was forced to do the EMBA because his company said it was a great thing to do. He really, really didn't want to do it. And after the first 2 courses, he absolutely loved it. And he now says it was the pivotal change in his career to lead him to where he is today. He just found that the learning amongst the group was really powerful, not just from the lecturers, but from the people that he had in the room. Sarah's working for an accountancy firm, and now she runs Supi, which is an online supermarket. Or she owns and runs Supi. So there's another major change, something she didn't come in to look at doing. Most of our students fund by student loan. And so you can, or if you're self-funding, you can pay course by course. And included in those fees are all of your books, your study materials, and catering on your contact days. If you're an international student, I know that we do have just a couple of international students here tonight. The international fee for the Executive MBA is 72,000 New Zealand dollars. And then the study tour is on top of that. So it's about 77,000 New Zealand dollars. You'll be interested to know about scholarships. We have a number of students who gain scholarships every year. There were 15 last year. And we have a scholarship resource document, which we will have available to you at the end of this. It helps you to know how to apply for a scholarship, but it will also give you a few scholarships that you could look at. So some of them are opening shortly. Actually, October's a big scholarship month at Massey. The other thing I want to draw to your attention is corporate sponsorship. In the last 12 months, 27 of our EMBA students have been sponsored by their employer. And these are only the students who are paying directly to Massey, where their company is paying directly to Massey. There are many students whose organisations will refund the course fee once they've passed. So just bear that in mind, always worth asking. We have some documents we can supply to you if that's something that you would like to do. Many organisations have development funds, so you should tap into those. There's no harm also in asking for time off for study. It makes a really big difference as well. So if they're unable to support you financially, time is of the essence and is a big bonus. Now, on the next slide, someone who's made an investment in themselves, excuse me, and their career is Rob. Rob graduated with his Executive MBA in 2019. He's the Managing Director of Ortex. Look it up, great company. And I'm now going to pass over to you, Rob. Thank you very much.
I was a group sales and marketing manager at the time. So you go through a lot of business theory and you're not expected to become an expert in any of it, really. I think you go through all the disciplines, sales, marketing, leadership, etc. But it gives you, at least when you're at the table, at the board table or within meetings within your business, you start to realize some of the language being used, and at least you're part of the conversation. And I think that was a really powerful piece. Also, the deep dive into some amazing New Zealand businesses. So we had, I think, the CEO, Don Braid of Main Freight, come in and present to us. And then we actually did a project that we worked on his business. It was a real life problem that he presented that we then went away and worked on and tried to find some solutions for that, which we presented back. So you don't often get a chance to get in behind the scenes in some of these really big, awesome New Zealand businesses. So I found that really, really interesting. And some of those connections carry on beyond the course. For me, some of the best papers were the governance paper. We read the Pike River book, which was a great governance story that, again, was a real life scenario that there was huge learnings from. And I've gone back and read that again, actually, now that I've sort of jumped on a governance career myself. The strategy paper was fantastic. And for me, also the marketing paper, I came through from a sales side of things. So there's always that tension, I guess, between sales and marketing. So it's great to understand marketing, that discipline, and then it really helped me on the sales side. A lot of the projects that we did, you could choose to do them on your own business. So again, you're looking at an operations piece. I looked at, the customer service side of our business and was able to relate that project directly back into the business. So there was some great benefits, I think, for the business too. And we actually executed some of that strategy that I pulled from that into our everyday business, which was great. I think the confidence piece was great. It gave me, relatively young, stepping up onto a board with a whole lot of much older people. So confidence was huge. So coming out the back of the MBA, at least I realized, look, I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, which was fantastic. The international trip was great, was awesome. We went, I think, to the Vespa factory in Vietnam. Was one of the businesses that I still remember. Again, you'd never get that opportunity to go and do that anywhere else. The group work, I had a love-hate relationship with, but it's actually real life business and working, right? You really work on a project in your current business on your own. So you actually have to work on projects with people. You need to grab people that are good at certain things. Someone needs to take control of that situation. And so the group work, it's a necessary evil. And I think you end up finding some great colleagues and forming groups and doing some really cool stuff together. But whilst on the MBA, I stepped up onto the board at Ortex and took on a sales director role. And then after MBA, I took on the New Zealand business that's managing director for New Zealand. And I've just jumped on a board just recently, a small lighting business that I'm a director on now. So it certainly opens doors.
Thanks very much for that. One of the questions we're often asked is around how much time did you put in to the study while you were doing it? Can you remember?
For me, I thought I'm committing 2 years. I'm going to go for it. So I went as hard as possible. So for me, it was probably 10 hours a week. For some, it was a lot less than that. And yeah, I think you just, for those 2 years, I just said, look, my family's important, the MBA is important, and work's important. And I literally just picked those three things. So certainly some other things, you don't see as much of your friends maybe and all that sort of thing, but it's 2 years. It's gone within, it goes so quickly. So it's definitely worth it.
There's one question in here. How did you find keeping up with the high responsibility role and studying at the same time?
Look, it's stressful. There's times when, you're up working incredibly late and you're giving up weekends and you're doing all of that. But I guess if you keep the end game in mind, and as you talk to Mandy, salary from when I was on then to when I'm on now, there's a huge difference there. So it's a lot of money, it's a lot of investment, but if you really go for it, I think it's massively beneficial out the other side.
Now we're going to move on to Professor Jens Mueller, who's our director, and he's going to talk to you about what academics do and what we can do for you. Over to you, Jens.
Well, thanks, Mandy, and thanks, Rob. That's a pretty hard act to follow. So Rob's a happy man, and obviously it's paid off quite well. Look, there are usually three questions that you ask yourself. One is, do I really have to do this? No one really wants to go voluntarily to university. So the first question of, do you have to do this, is quite simple. Yes, you do, because we've got degree inflation. Your parents, my parents, could very happily work without a degree at all their life in a chosen profession, do quite well, and still be happy, make good money, and be recognized. And now a bachelor degree pretty much tells people you can read and write, and it doesn't really count for very much if you want to go into leadership. The most important part is this. All of you looking around the room here, no spring chickens here, all of you have years of experience, and you believe that the next job, the next promotion is yours. And then somebody comes by with only 4 years experience and a degree, an EMBA, and passes you by and gets that job. And that really upsets you. And that will get even worse over time, because people who hire into management and leadership roles themselves are risk adverse. They don't want to be held accountable later on to, how could she have hired that person that didn't have anything on paper that would make them credible for the role, and you can see it didn't work out, it's your fault. So you will find that more and more your time in seat, your time in the job will be discounted down, and other people with a degree, a high degree in management, will pass you by. Not a good position to be in. Looking around here, you all have about 25 to 35 years of work to do still, and you want to make sure that that work is at a higher level than what you're doing now. Second question is, why Massey? And that's quite simple. We're the only program in the country that does a practical blend of academic topics for people who really don't want to be academics. Yes, it's highly accredited. We're 250, 60 or so in the world, so a very high-end program. But at the same time, most of the people who we put in to teach you are practitioners. I've run billion-dollar firms for 30 years, and we bring a lot of practical experience to the party. That means that when you're in a class, it is much more like a management discussion with your chair in a boardroom than a classroom with students and professor. And anyone who kills you with PowerPoints won't do that a second time, I guarantee you. So the teaching style is very practical. It is intended to reflect what you do at work. So it's not really an academic program as such. And Mandy talked about the fact that we don't have exams and things like that. We don't have LSAT or GMAT admission tests, all the stuff that doesn't really tell us whether you're good in practice. You'll have to talk to me at some point about coming into the program. We select carefully. That means also that we have virtually no dropouts. This is a one-stop train. You board, and the next stop is the finished EMBA. You have no courses to pick. There's no electives to worry about. There's no options of what you do next week. We tell you what you're going to do, and you're going to do it with everybody. And the people you start with in February are the people that you finish with by the following year, about October, November, and then you graduate the next year. The last one, and I kind of touched on that indirectly, is there a risk you can fail? I've done this since 1987, so a fairly large period of time, and I can, on the fingers of both hands, and I have all fingers, I can count how many people have missed out for academic reasons. It just does not happen. You have to work harder on failing than on passing. The assessments are practical. They're consulting reports. They're practical case studies. They're things that you would do at work, a manager task that you get, and you can easily do that. It's not that hard to get through if you make the time available. It happens sometimes that people say, I want to sit out a year because my health isn't going great. I'm going to have a new baby, granny is sick, whatever. Somebody wins the lottery and doesn't share with us. So then what we're ending up with is somebody who kind of, sits a year out and comes back. But most people, pretty much everybody, starts and finishes. You will be quite amazed how many things you can kind of do while you're also studying. It's really the efficient management that makes this happen. We have a group that is very carefully selected once we pick you, and we pick about 1 out of 3.7 applicants. So once we pick you, you know that we will look out for you. And we are the only program in the whole university, and Massey has 3 universities, Palmy, Wellington, and Albany, where there is a dedicated group of people to pretty much become your concierges. And we make sure that whatever you need to get done gets done. We'll walk you through the procedures and process, the enrollment and the course selection, all this stuff. All we want you to do is 10 weekends over 15 months, roughly. Then a consulting report. You do that part, we'll do the rest.
Nearly there, guys, nearly there. So we're just going to talk now about the support. The Centre of Learning Success they have huge amounts of resources in there, but the thing that I love the most is that you can submit an assessment to them, they will critique it, send it back to you, and then you can submit it for a grade. And you get 3 chances to do that every semester. The Massey Career Centre also has enormous amounts of resource there. As you're applying for new jobs, you can use their resources. They've got a 360 CV application profile. They've got CV the writing letters skills. It's amazing. It's amazing. From our point of view, from the EMBA office, one of the things we love to do is the mental gym. That's a try before you buy type system that we've got going. We will let anyone know about that when they start. Should start in the next month. So you can join in for about 45 minutes and see the way that we teach. If you don't have a degree and you're going, oh, but I don't have the university transcript, what we are looking for is equivalency. So I want to see on your CV all your training. If you've done a trade, I want to see everything that you've done, your incomplete degree, your diploma, your certificate, whatever it is that you've done, because we're going to craft a story around that, which is going to help you to make your application. Maybe directly into the EMBA, depending on what you've done, but it might also be that pathway that we talked about with the PG cert. Seriously, get on with it. Make your application, make a start. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. I'm going to pass over to my lovely colleague, Ditha, who's going to start going through the chat.
Thank you, Mandy. Just a few questions about the kind of projects that you may have worked on during the Executive MBA.
The lecturers were always available, so you're always able to email them and ask questions and get some further insight. You learn to write properly, and I think that's fantastic. So the amount of people now, I'm sure you all see, that struggle to compose an email properly and do all of those things. Throughout this process, you will learn to be able to write concisely, clearly, and that then translates into how you write emails and how you write government tenders and all these things post that. So it's a process, and you're not the best at it at the start, and that's why those support mechanisms are there to get people. You can send it off and they can give you some feedback.
Could you also tell us a little bit about your biggest challenge that you may have had during your study with us?
I think, look, just the commitment side of it, and I certainly came in putting a lot of pressure on myself. For me, I was chasing good marks all the time, and that builds a lot of pressure.
Rob, could you tell us a little bit, just probably the top 3 reasons why you chose the Executive MBA at Massey University?
I did some research. I looked at Auckland University and Massey University. The study tour for me was a clincher, and I think also the Auckland one, it looked a whole lot more finance heavy for me, which scared me a little bit. So I'm still pleased with going with Massey, definitely.
Jens, while I have you here, could you talk to us a little bit about how someone who's thinking about the EMBA could ready themselves from an academic perspective?
Oh, do I have a deal for you? We do what's called the Massey Mental Gym. And that starts just about in about 3-4 weeks or something. And what we do is between pretty much now, late September into February, we give you a preview for each of the courses you will have. And the lecture will come in about an hour. We've scheduled that in the evening after the kids are in bed, 7:30, 8 o'clock or something. And you will be able to kind of get a scratch and sniff preview of a course.
Another frequently asked question is about the type of assessments that we can see on the program. So could you give us an example of an assessment that we would encounter?
Yeah, we have, like I said before, everything's practical. We have usually a group assessment in each course. 3 assessments is standard. 1 will be group. And the group usually does a consulting report, digs into a company that either has a current issue, wants to have a merger proposal, wants to franchise, wants to go international, wants to close, whatever it is. And you would then provide a report that would then either go to the firm or would be done in class in a Dragon's Den format. You would usually have one of the papers, one of the assessments would be a reflection where you think about what did I do in this course? What could I do differently? And now that I've seen with a little bit of hindsight what others have done, what would I do?
Another question for you, Jens. With the global aspect of the the EMBA, how much of this could actually be applied to domestic markets, domestic problems, business problems, the market here?
Well, you would be very hard pressed to come up with a business that is not affected by global events. We wouldn't have a healthcare system if we wouldn't buy in machines from overseas and would get trained doctors and nurses from the Philippines and everywhere else. You wouldn't have a cell phone in your pocket if it wasn't imported. And you wouldn't be able to travel anywhere if people wouldn't accept our passport. And we had a free trade agreement in order to ship our kiwi fruit overseas and bombard people with our milk. So it is very hard to find in New Zealand an industry, a company where you are not affected by supply chain issues, import-export, by prices set overseas. Our gas prices at the fuel pump are set by the US dollar exchange rate. So all of these things ultimately make a business competitive, that you're able to now look beyond a local supply chain, for instance, and say, good example is a big fertilizer company in New Zealand a couple of years ago. They decided we import a lot of potash. Potash is a key ingredient for fertilizer, and we're buying from a local supplier and we're getting ripped off. We're going to go to India and we're going to load barges in Goa and we're going to ship those barges to New Zealand. And they now at any one time have about 16 barges either coming, going, unloading, or returning, where they're now importing their stuff directly. All of those things being seamlessly able to operate in a bigger market beyond New Zealand is important. Remember, New Zealand is 2 big rocks next to 50 million penguins. We have to fly for 2.5 hours to get to Australia, and they're only 25 million people, which is less than the triangle of Guangzhou, Hong Kong, and Shenzhen in one town. So if we wanted to go and do good business, it pretty much all the time means that we have to understand how to be overseas. And this is part of the credentials that you get to seamlessly operate in foreign markets.
What is the advantage of choosing Massey over other New Zealand universities or Auckland universities?
Well, unless you want to go and be really cold, you wouldn't go to Dunedin. You're pretty isolated in Hamilton, and Auckland's pretty much the only place where people come to. And a big portion of this EMBA is that you network with about 60, 70, 80 other people. There's a huge marbling. This is the only real national program, and some people flying from the islands or from Australia or West Island, and you're ending up with a huge knowledge transfer, connections and networks that build. But the key consideration is that, look, among New Zealand universities that don't have a medical school, we are the highest ranked globally. And so this is a very, very high-end program, but it is taught practically, and no one else has really yet managed, and I know the colleagues at Auckland quite well, no one's really managed to bring practitioners so seamlessly into the academic workforce. Yes, there is a video link, and yes, there's a speaker, but look, in every course that we teach, there will be material from a current firm that day. There will be a CEO or senior manager from a firm in that industry popping in and speaking with you for an hour or two, making network connections. And it is a true hallmark that we were able to craft 240 credits, short of a PhD, It's a high-end executive MBA into a packaging that is very practical, as if you were at work. And that works great for people who don't want to learn the academic way and constantly be bombarded with research articles, and you have to write things down and absorb PowerPoints. We don't do much of that stuff. Yes, we give you current research, but we expect that you take the bits out that have practical sense, and then we put it all together. So the key distinction is that you will feel as if you're going to work, not as if you're going to university.
I'm going to hand it back to Jens for an official close for the session.
Well, Tanakura Katoa, and this is a program where you really can't go wrong, because look around the room. Everybody, different companies, not-for-profit, small companies, big firms, government organization, everybody is there. It is not just for a narrow group of people who would go into a certain area. It is really a blender mush of different streams of interest that we see in New Zealand business, and all of that comes out in those classes. It's a wonderful opportunity to learn what other people do, to look over the fence, what other companies do well, and to also hear to what extent we do some fairly creative things in New Zealand that we most possibly wouldn't know about if you wouldn't meet people in classrooms. So ultimately, what you're ending up with is something that is intended to be a boost. Once you put this on your CV, and you do that in February, with an EMBA finishing in 2025, you will have this listed there. You will see that people take notice, and you will see that your coworker and your team will ask you after a weekend of class, oh, what did you learn? What's new? And you will become kind of the little mini Massey megaphone. And that's all good stuff. This is a community effort, and everybody pitches in, many stakeholders, and we will make sure you're ready for those. Thank you for joining in. Thank you to the team for being here on a Tuesday evening. We have heaps of emails for you, and you can obviously get in touch with us. The only thing you can't do is wait much longer. As you know, we have hibernation in New Zealand that starts about early December. A university is not immune, and we don't wake up really until about late January. So in order to get you all settled in and on board for February, you need to get on the road and make sure we have your CV, we have your references, and we have your transcript if you have done any courses, probably in the next 3 to 5 weeks. And then we can work through the process to onboard you. I think it's good that before the holidays start, you know what you're going to do in February, and then you can also get ready for the Massey Mental Gym. Thank you all for coming.